You know when you go into a movie expecting one thing, but the movie turns out to be something completely different? Yeah, this is one of those times, because I certainly didn't expect the kind of movie I got. But I will say that at least in some ways it was a pleasant surprise. And the opening sequence definitely found a way to grab my attention and make me go, okay then. In a good way. Unexpected, but a good way. But the tone was almost that of a horror movie. Now, it turns out that's a little bit misleading because it's not really a horror movie, but it's also not really a drama, and it's also not really a comedy either, although it can be really funny at times. It's a weird sort of blend of all three with some thriller thrown into the mix as well. And yeah, that did make it feel very distinct, like its own unique thing. And I can always appreciate that, and I can appreciate other things about this as well. Like the comedy, because I thought it worked very well for the most part. Usually when it tries to be funny, it succeeds, and that did help carry the movie along as well. The chemistry between Bo Burnham's and Carey Mulligan's characters is also pretty great. It makes their relationship seem very natural and effortless, and I enjoyed that quite a bit as well. However, I did have some issues with the movie too, and they run pretty deep. Starting with the main character, who's a woman in her 30s working in a coffee shop. But as the title might suggest, she had once been on a path to doing more ambitious things with her life. But those things seem to be solidly in the rear view mirror for her, which seems to be confusing to everyone around her. And the movie slowly explores that whole thing and her reasons for choosing to leave her previous aspirations behind. And why she's currently spending her time doing what she's doing outside of the coffee shop, which is something I won't give away here, but let's just say that it's pretty interesting. Now, where the movie runs into some problems is, well, firstly with the main character. Because there are aspects to her life that make it very difficult to sympathize with her. And I just felt really weird about her in general. I couldn't quite decide if I should root for her or not. Because there are certainly things about her worth rooting for, but then she turns around and does, well, other things too. Things that make you wish she wouldn't succeed in what she's doing. And that's the basic crux of the situation. She's at times a very sympathetic character. She's sweet and you understand what she's dealing with and what she's going through. But then at times she's very far from that, and it's basically like watching two entirely different characters struggle on screen. And then there's the whole moral and ethical side of the things she's doing too. And also how the movie chooses to portray those things, which felt very weird. And you know, as this is a spoiler-free review, I don't want to get into details here. But to put it bluntly, the movie seems to be saying that all men are creeps and basically some sort of monsters, even the nice ones. Or in fact, there's no such thing as a nice guy. Every male is at least to some extent responsible for horrible things that happen to women. Which is a view I just can't by any stretch of the imagination support or go along with. It just seems to be making very broad and sweeping generalizations, and that I have a problem with. In fact, I had such a problem with it that I had a really hard time enjoying this. And it's extremely rare that a movie manages to put me off like this with its politics and agenda. But this one did, and it's very sad because on a technical level it's a very well made movie. It's well structured, well executed, and all around should be an enjoyable experience. If it weren't for the weird agenda it seems to be pushing and the message that seems really counterproductive. However, it also did pull off an extraordinarily well executed ending. One that partially won me back over simply because I couldn't overlook how well done it was. And basically the whole movie turned into a straight up dark comedy for the last few minutes. It didn't even try to hide it anymore, and I very much enjoyed how it wrapped things up with a wink at the audience. But at the same time, it still doesn't really make up for the message it was putting out there for the rest of the runtime. And if anything, it just made me feel even more torn about the experience as a whole. Which means I'm not exactly sure how to score this, but I'm leaning toward a solid 7. So yeah, I don't know about this one. Would I recommend it? I'm not so sure. If you can look past the agendas and the politics, there's a solid movie in there for sure. But if that's something that'll annoy you, probably stay away from this. So make up your own mind about this one. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic.